friends, and thank you for tuning into the Optimal Health Program. Hope you're all doing well. Today, we're going to chat about a variety of things, as we typically do, and certainly take your comments and calls and notes and emails. We love chatting with you. And Frank is here, my super duper most awesome producer of the century.
Well, thank you, Doc.
Here holding down the electronic fort, keeping everything working. Every now and then we have glitches with the internet, but that's been good so far.
Oh, yeah.
So we're happy about that.
Minus that nor'easter we had.
Oh, yeah. So I've got this idea that the people who give the weather forecast, they are somehow invested in the companies that own supermarkets. Because when they say the world's coming to an end, everybody goes out and gets toilet paper and water. And among other foods and canned things. I'm like, well, why toilet paper and water? Just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. But even this nor'easter was supposed to be devastating, but it wasn't. A little rain here and there, a little wind. Everybody went out and they freak out. And I'm driving by the supermarket, and luckily enough, I have enough toilet paper and water. I didn't have to wait online to go into the supermarket. It's weird to me that this sort of thing happens all the time.
And then usually when the big storm comes, they're like, it's nothing.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
That's the only job that you could have where you're wrong 90% of the time and still get paid.
Right.
So it's amazing to me. So today we want to talk about a few things, talk about brain function, what's wrong with my brain, where's my memory, why is my focus or concentration affected over the past few years. And a lot of people are talking about this. You see this all day long in my practice. The underlying causes are a few. They're not a million things that could be changing in your body. But I think primarily we see vitamin deficiency, hormone decline. We see exposure to outside chemicals, heavy metals, causing free radical damage. And we'll go into some of that. There's some great studies here. Also, a study that certainly supports what I've been saying for like 25, 30 years, that heavy metals can cause plaque in your blood vessels. And an important study to look at, and that's why we take so much time to look at heavy metals through blood and urine and try to get them out of your body. But we talk about nutrients being good for every part of your body and your brain, and that's certainly one of the reasons why your brain's not doing what it used to do. 70 to 80% of people as they get older, 60s and beyond, have vitamin deficiency, and it may be people in their 40s and 50s as well have that, and they started to see these changes earlier. But when we talk about testing for vitamins, as I do with every patient, most people are deficient in a couple of things, and some people are deficient in almost everything. As soon as we start to correct their nutrients and then retest to prove they're in perfect range, all of a sudden their memory, their focus improves, anxiety goes away. This is a great study talking about multivitamins appear to help slow cognitive aging, and they help to improve memory in older adults. Daily vitamins can improve overall health because they're binding to free radicals. Free radicals damage your tissue by stealing an electron from the outer ring of the cells in the membrane. It's an electronic issue. So they steal the electron. That's oxidation. Antioxidant vitamins stop that from happening. Too much oxidation, cells crumble and die. That's called apoptosis. So even in a meta-analysis, multiple studies where they're looking at nutrients and memory and brain function, a great deal of evidence talks about global cognition and episodic memory improve by correcting nutrients. Epidemiologists at Brigham and Women's Hospital, Massachusetts, another big study, talk about that as people get older, they're either not taking vitamins or they're taking things that have no bearing on correcting their deficiency, and that's why they seem to have such improvement. But it's a fact. It's factual that getting the right vitamins on board and proving that, as we do, will enhance and improve a variety of things. Another add-on to this article talks about vitamin D. We know that it's great for bones, great for immune response. It is also great for brain function. So everyone should be looking at blood testing for vitamins and making those into the perfect range. Young population, very physical, very active. You're burning through the vitamins. Young people that have fatigue, a lot of times they're burning through the vitamins they're taking and they're randomly doing it. So you're not maintaining good levels. So that's why before, recommend, and after testing makes all the sense in the world. Everybody varies a little bit as to how they drop their hormones. So some people we've seen will decrease their thyroid production in their late teens and 20s. And doctors wouldn't expect this, but we found that population have very low levels of T3 or low levels of T4. And sometimes the TSH is elevated because now your brain is saying, hey, make some more of the hormone. And that can cause fatigue and weight gain and issues with memory, irritability, anxiety. So we have to look at all the hormones. Testosterone decline decreases your mood and your ability to think clearly and quickly. The same with estrogen, progesterone decline. And those things don't have to happen when you're 60, 70, or 80 years old. They can happen earlier. As a matter of fact, and I think I was talking about this last week, where testosterone levels now are 35% lower than they were, 20, 30, 40 years ago. So I think it's exposure to the bisphenol, the plastics, and all this other junk that is damaging your ability to maintain and produce your own hormones. We've seen literature that proves that. I think we have another couple of studies here that talks about that as well. So vitamin deficiency, normal aging, losing cells as you get older, because aging is loss of cells of your brain. And then with less brain cells, you're making less neurotransmitters, so that affects your brain and your body function. Exposure to things from the outside that cause damage. Again, heavy metals and such. This is why the brain changes and why we don't have the same capacity we had in years prior. So we have to look at all of that. This article talks about toxic environmental contaminants, including airborne toxins, heavy metals, endocrine-disrupting chemicals, are among the key causes of worldwide burden of chronic disease. So important to look at this. Doctors don't ever look at this. And I talk to patients about this all the time. They say, really? You can check to see what I've been exposed to with metals and such? Yeah, through blood and urine. So to make it clear, a blood test is only showing you 4 to 5 metals, but those metals that have come in recently within the past couple of weeks or month, and they're free-floating in your blood. They didn't get stored in your cells yet. So that's the first screening test, like you could do a blood test screening for allergy. And whatever antibodies are there that go through the needle into the tube are showing you a representation of what's there. It's not giving you the ultimate full-blown answer, but it's the first step. The second step that we do for heavy metals is to look at urine. Urine will show us 21 different metals. This is from a specialty lab, and it gives us an overview as to what your exposure is. The third step is to do an IV that pulls the metals out into the urine, and we capture that urine to see what comes out. So now we're looking at what we've removed to get a handle on that. And then if you're doing some of those treatments, you repeat the urine after 10 treatments, and you compare the first time you did the urine, the second time you did the urine, and you can see what you've removed. So very scientific, very important.
We got questions coming in, Doc.
All righty, let's go to some questions.
Some questions. How do you tell the difference between normal forgetfulness and the early signs of real memory loss?
So if it's something that happens here and there and it's not, repetitive, where every day you're like, where did I put my keys? Where are my glasses? And what's this person's name? And what's that person's address or phone number? If you start to have multiple things that you're losing that sharpness or focus with, then it's more of a significant problem. If it's now and then, once in a while, no big deal. But the more things that you forget or the more things that you can't recall quickly, there may be more of a defect there. And that's why we talk about vitamin deficiency, hormone decline, metal exposure, chemical exposure. So each of these areas can play a role. That's why we want to look to see what's going on in your body. It's the greatest idea of all.
We got, why does it feel like memory problems are starting earlier in life now? Is it stress, sleep, diet?
Yeah, they are. I mean, in 39 years of doing this, there weren't as many people back then that had issues with memory, focus, concentration. I think there were less people that had anxiety and even panic sensations. So a lot more is going on with the population. But if you were to look at a graph of chemical exposure, you'd see that we have a great deal more on board. Bisphenol A from plastics, Nalgene from plastics, the PCBs, heavy metals, chemicals in food, GMO food, vitamin deficiency. I mean, there's so many things that sets the stage for this. We're just seeing the accumulation of this over the course of years. The beauty is once we test and figure it out, we can correct all of these things. Correct your vitamins, minerals, and hormones. Get them back to where you were 10 or 15 years ago and recreate great function. Remove the offending agents, the heavy metals. Clean up your home environment, clean up your personal environment. Don't use things that have tons of chemicals on board. Don't go out and have junk food with all the processed foods. You start to see your body work really well when you have good, healthy, organic foods, when you're doing your exercise, flooding oxygen to your cells, bringing the vitamins and minerals and hormones on board. So there's a lot more that's happening than ever before, and that's why we have to work a little more diligently on this.
Someone else saying, I'm hearing that medications like statins or antidepressants are contributing to memory issues all over.
Absolutely. Statins wipe out CoQ10. So in the pathway where your body makes the cholesterol, the pathway step to step also makes CoQ10. And when you block that pathway at the step before CoQ10 is made, you're wiping out whatever CoQ10 you would make throughout the course of the whole day. And some people say, well, I take CoQ10, but you can't take it as much as your body would make it, all day long. I think we just get you off the statin, low-carb diet, exercise, correct all your other vitamins and hormones. And there are nutrients to use to help to lower cholesterol. So that's a smarter way to do it. But yeah, the meds are contributing to this. And we've become a medication society where even people go to the doctor. If the doctor doesn't rapidly give them a medication, they think they didn't get their money's worth. Now, of course, this is changing over the past few years, and people are saying, I don't want medication for every symptom or thing that I'm complaining of or that I have. I'd rather use a more natural mechanism to create that, benefit and get your body healthy as opposed to being on 10 meds and not being healthy. So it's a process that, once again, we evaluate your body and then fine-tune things and fix. And stem cells are great for your brain function because you're putting brand new cells intravenously to all your organs, but also nasal droplet, 2 syringes, one at a time to get the back of your nasal cavity into your blood vessels, into your brain, and make brand new brain cells. And one of the videos we're going to show in a little while will show you a woman that had issues with her brain, strokes, loss of memory, focus, concentration, all of that, and had a most miraculous result. So we can prove it.
What's the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia? Is dementia a byproduct from Alzheimer's?
So the milder forms of memory loss and cognitive dysfunction progress into full-blown, stronger presentation of what we might call Alzheimer's or senile dementia of the Alzheimer's type. SDAT are the letters that are usually described for that. So dementia is not only forgetting simple things, where did I put the keys, where did I put my hat, etc., forgetting the day of the week, forgetting the month, forgetting things that everybody should really know, their home phone number. There's a mini mental status exam where there are a bunch of questions that you ask. You're supposed to ask the patient a question. Repeat after me. No ifs, ands, or buts. And a lot of times patient can't bring that back to you verbally, and you check off if they can't. If you ask them to draw a clock, a circle, and put the numbers where they should be around that circle on the clock, sometimes the clock is distorted and the numbers are all over the place outside the circle. That's a distortion of both visual and spatial understanding. So there are ways to evaluate that, but the milder mechanism of dementia is, softer. When you get to more progression, people forget who you are, their relative, and it becomes very difficult. Some people go down a pathway where they're really, really angry, and that's a presentation, fortunately, that's less often, and other people are happy and calm, but they just don't know who you are. They don't know what's going on, so it's scary.
What are the best foods or supplements to support memory?
So there are a variety of things that are part of the process. B12 is important because B12 creates good red blood cell count. Iron is good because it helps to bring oxygen into your cells, and that will help to give you oxygen in your brain. The important add-on when the oxygen gets in, which is a super important step, is NAD, nicotine adenine dinucleotide. We use that as an injectable form because it works really well. That takes the oxygen through a pathway to become 36 molecules of ATP, which is energy, which is great for every cell and part of your body. So it's a combination of things that can make a difference. In some people, vitamin D works well. In other people, we talk about vitamin C because it binds to free radicals. So it sort of varies. There's no, and we never recommend using like these energy drinks and products that will give you a stimulus, but is not repairing something. So if we repair your nutrients, we get your hormones in the right range, thyroid, DHEA, testosterone, IGF-1, the active component of growth hormone. If those are low, that'll bring your function back. But if those are low, you can try bucket loads of all sorts of vitamins that may not do anything because the cause is low hormones or maybe heavy metal exposure. So, they've talked about fish oil being beneficial. Yeah, has the anti-inflammatory properties. Anything that binds free radicals could be good. Glutathione is great for your brain. Phosphatidylcholine, we do that IV. It's great for your brain. But I wouldn't be the person to say, oh, you have memory issues. Oh, here, just take this vitamin or take this IV and see what happens. That's the guessing game that you see in the traditional realm. I'd rather find the cause, treat the cause, great result.
And just funny enough, you mentioned the energy drinks and, Formula One racing.
Yeah.
There's a video that was sent to me where, they must be sponsored by Monster.
Yeah.
So you actually see in the background of one of the broadcasts, two of the racers, and they're in the background taking their Monster bottles and they're dumping them and filling them with water. So it's incredible.
Oh, wow. So they're dumping out the actual product and just drinking the water,
right,
but showing the bottle.
Right, because they're required to
for advertising.
Right. It
yeah,
just shows.
I can't imagine that driving a race car, you really have to be on point, that you want to be so hyped up that you're jittery. I don't think that would be an advantage. And there are people who drink a lot of caffeine for that boost, and to some extent, little caffeine is not bad. We've seen that, and some people love chocolate because it thinks it makes them brilliant. But certain things work, natural things work for some people and maybe not others. Drugs work for some people, maybe not others. A natural substance is not supposed to make a reaction immediately. A drug, a painkiller, is supposed to give you the quickest response to that symptom. If it takes a week to work, it'll never make it to market. So things that are made and created for a certain outcome, like meds, can do that. But the natural things sometimes take a little bit longer to work because they're natural.
And then someone said, the plaque buildup in the arteries are basically reducing the blood flow to the brain. Is that what you're saying for memory issues?
Absolutely. And, we do testing, MRIs, which are great tests for the brain. EEGs, we do a brain scan where you wear a funny-looking cap that's connected to the wires. It reads the electrical function of your brain into a computer. You click on a button to see how fast you can click the button, and you answer questions, etc. And it looks at all the areas of your brain because there are little, wires connected to a little gel in your scalp where the device is reading your brain over different areas. And it's an EEG, and it tells us the speed and the ability and the strength and function of your brain. So we can see why and how that's occurring. So whenever we do MRIs of the brain or CAT scans, infrequently we'll see that people have ischemia, a decrease in blood flow to different parts of the brain. Microvascular ischemia, and that's either the beginning of or a continuation of loss of that really good blood flow. Now, on top of that, if you put vitamin, mineral, hormone deficiency, decreased blood flow, you have your bad outcomes. So the more bad things pile up, the more issues you have. When you correct each of those things, the better you get. And once again, remember aging of the brain, just like aging of your skin, your hair, any visible part of your body, any organ where the numbers are changing on your blood tests, aging in the brain occurs. You don't see it. You may or may not feel it, but you just sort of understand that your body's different than it was before because you're losing new cell production in every part of your body. Everybody is. And we like to get brand new cells back in to create that repair. And that's the answer to cellular loss is stem cells putting new cells back in to replace and continue to grow in those areas of damage and inflammation.
And we have someone who said that their grandfather was mistaken for early Alzheimer's, but it was a clogged artery in the neck.
Yeah, certainly could be. That's why we look for all those things. The carotid duplex looks at the sound and the visual of blockage. So a sonogram, and the new machines are really accurate. When you look at a blood vessel, you want to see a black tube. You don't want anything in there. When you start to see white, little crusty schmutz, or people describe it as white little crustiness inside the tube, that means plaque. So plaque can break off and clog a vessel and cause a stroke. I mean, so there are bad things that happen with that. So in a perfect world, we want to be able to get that, out of the picture.
Oh, I just have to say, we got to shout out our LFA audience.
Absolutely. Our super happy, amazing, wonderful LFA audience on Rumble. And thanks to everybody who's listening. We get a wonderful response. Last Saturday, we had 120,000 views.
130, maybe.
Awesome.
Let's go.
Yeah, so we're really happy. And we're getting a lot of emails to the office, which we're very thankful for, drcalapai.com, the website, and calls to the office. We love that. So we love to be able to help you out in any way we can, answer your questions, certainly get you set up for the workup. More and more now, we're doing the telehealth visits for people, for those who can't get to the office because they live far away. I can get on the phone with you and do the telehealth visit, send a prescription to you to get your blood work done, go over the blood work with you a week later, then talk about how to fine-tune things, whether it's vitamins, minerals. The vitamin pack that we're using is working beautifully. Very simply, I can take nutrients, put them in the morning pack, put nutrients in the evening pack, and then have great vitamin levels. Recheck the blood for the vitamin deficiencies a month later. Now your vitamin levels are perfect. That's the only great way to do this. So we could put people on an AD, a variety of things. So we're doing a lot of that.
Question here: what's the difference between plaque in the heart and plaque that builds up in the brain's the small blood vessels?
Slightly different mechanism. Amyloid plaque is what they say is occurring in the brain, and that is a result of inflammation. It's slightly different than the plaque that you see in your blood vessels, in your coronaries, like this little model here with the yellow stuff in your blood vessels. But I think there are 50 things that cause plaque in the blood vessels, including high cholesterol, triglycerides, low HDL, high LDL, high chylomicrons, the bad small LDL, particles that affect and add to plaque, as the next article we're going to talk about has proven that does that, where the bad LDL, binds to heavy metals and becomes part of the plaque process. High homocysteine, fibrinogen, high C-reactive protein, all part and parcel of that. As I mentioned, all the metals, individual risk factors for plaque. Viruses, Epstein-Barr, CMV, herpes viruses, many, many things create that plaque mechanism. In the brain, they've been talking about a high homocysteine, which is from low vitamins contributing to brain plaque. But the brain has blood vessels just like any other part of your body. So there's still that vascular plaque that occurs in the brain. But when the brain cells are damaged, they talk more about the amyloid plaque. And that's what also they've described, correlating with Alzheimer's disease. So it's two slightly different but very strong mechanisms.
Can the same lifestyle changes that help clear plaque, like exercise and diet, also improve memory? It seems like when I started running, my memory improved a lot.
Well, sure. So think of your brain as a big sponge. On one hand, it's got to suck up all the good things that are in your blood. And the more that you do activity where you're getting more blood flow to that organ and getting a lot of oxygen flooding those cells, of course, that can dramatically improve oxygen delivery to your brain cells. Now add on perfect vitamin levels, great hormone levels. You're giving your organs all the things that it wasn't getting before. So absolutely, positively. I want to talk about this article for a second. Journal of Medicine and Medical Studies, Toxic Threats to Health, Heavy Metal Atherosclerosis Connection. Atherosclerosis, number one killer of all people, because everybody dies sooner or later of a heart attack, and that's really because things lead up to that plaque buildup and heart damage. A variety of studies highlight environmental exposure to heavy metals. Lead, cadmium, mercury, arsenic contributors to plaque, and continues to review cadmium, mercury, arsenic, also linked with cancer. So Dr. Lamas did a big study that the metals are linked with atherosclerosis, coronary stenosis, arterial calcification, stroke, left ventricular hypertrophy, heart failure, peripheral arterial disease. Cadmium exposure, 41% higher risk of cardiovascular mortality, according to the National Health and Nutrition Survey, NHANES 1999 to 2006. Another study done in Europe, 30% increase of carotid plaque with heavy metals and mercury. The list goes on and on and on and on. So really important study. And if you're dealing with plaque, and you're not looking at metals and you're not looking at some of these things or not using the more natural mechanisms to burn cholesterol, to exercise, you're missing parts of a complete picture that you need to have to be able to create your best outcome.
How do metals damage the blood vessels? Do they make them stiffer or more inflamed? Like, what's the actual process there?
They can become plaque. If a metal binds to the LDL cholesterol, it becomes a foam cell, and that can sit on the blood vessel wall and become plaque. So if you think microscopically, you have supposed to have this glistening blood vessel lining that should be nice and smooth. If inflammation occurs, a virus gets in and sits in these cells and starts to create inflammation. Well, now that's rough. It's not smooth anymore. So cholesterol, triglycerides, LDL, heavy metals, the foam cell, all of these bad things can get stuck there, and now you're building that plaque up. Vitamin deficiency increases homocysteine, that increases plaque. C-reactive protein, inflammation, high fibrinogen can, in a way, if you look at gauze bandages and you look at them under a microscope, you see these wisps of cotton. That's what fibrinogen is like. When you cut yourself, it's supposed to cover and clot so that you don't, bleed. But fibrinogen excess will add to plaque, just like putting a wad of cotton on it, and now it's just more matrix for things to get stuck to. So it's certainly not good for you. So you want to look at all of these parameters and change them so that you don't have this added, component and this added damage.
We got one. Are there certain occupations or environments that make people more likely to build up metals in their systems? I'm certainly concerned for my husband who does a lot of construction and welding.
So, yeah, there are people who have a much higher risk. And I have patients, and I talk to them about this all the time. If you're in construction and you're cutting those aluminum studs that you frame out a wall and then zip the sheetrock into, you're cutting aluminum, you're being exposed to airborne aluminum. Yes, if you work in a foundry. Yes, if you work for your uncle in a landscaping business and you're using some of the pesticides to kill termites and things, your exposure to chemicals and a lot of these things is pretty bad. But you don't have to be working in that type of environment to have a big exposure. Look at how often people eat chicken. Who doesn't eat chicken at home or out to dinner? If it's not organic chicken, it has arsenic in it. So chicken, shrimp, rice, apples, California wine are high in arsenic. You can look this up online. If every day you're exposed to some of these in that group, and there are other foods, then you're getting a good amount of exposure there. Mercury in fish, fillings of your teeth. The fillings are 50% mercury. They sit in your teeth, and the warmth of that, can absorb some of that into your blood vessels. They're right there. They're next to each other, and then the metals and the mercury can also get to your thyroid, which is inches away. That could damage your thyroid. If you look at aluminum in pots and pans, aluminum foil, antiperspirant, there's exposure there. So the list goes on and on. And again, I can say I've seen many thousands of people over 39 years where they haven't been in that bad job where they have a direct exposure, but they've got significant levels because it can come in the water in your home, drinking water. It could come from anywhere. So the key is to do the blood and then the urine test to get a better picture as to how much your body is holding on to or storing.
We've got someone who said that they told their husband about your chelation therapy that you were mentioning a couple weeks ago.
Sure.
We'd love to be involved. It's just that we're all the way out here in Montana.
Montana. So there's an organization called the American College for Advancement in Medicine. Just go to ACAM, A.C.A.M. That's the organization that trains all the doctors in chelation and other things. But they'll give you a list of doctors who do those chelation and other IVs and things on their website. So you can find somebody who does that. I was certified by them years ago. You know, you have to go back every couple of years to teach other doctors, so I did that for a long time. But ACAM is a great organization, and they give you all that information. That's where doctors call to get trained, and you go to their conferences, so they have a list of doctors all over the place.
Someone's saying that they've heard that garlic helps detox heavy metals. Is this all a myth?
I don't see any evidence for that. And remember, I've seen just about everything that people have heard of, that have tried. I don't want to say like old wives' tales and things, but some people say, well, I do this and apple cider vinegar and honey and I'm a new man. I mean, it's possible, but the best way for me to describe this is that there are people that use saunas and different nutrients, chlorella, spirulina, detoxifying, quote, nutrients, and they think you take it and you're good, which is never true. But if a person's been doing some of these things for a while, I say, great, if we check your blood and then check your urine, you shouldn't have any of these things on board. You check your blood, you see some metals. Remember, the blood is only 4 metals or 5, depending upon the lab, and that's recent exposure. But the urine is more a reflection of what's been stored in your body and then kind of leaking out to some extent. And when you do a urine test and you see a lot of metals on board, then those things aren't working. And that's what I've seen to the 99% of the time when people are trying these other things. They don't work. They have foot baths and foot pads that are sold in massive numbers to make you think you're detoxifying. And I tell the patient, well, what did they tell you you're detoxifying? Getting out all the toxins. I said, so name the toxins you're looking at. The ones you did a blood test for? Did they do a blood test? No. So what are they taking out? And how are they taking it out? And where's the proof that whatever chemicals in the pad or the foot bath is bonding to them and coming out, and you're testing them to see that they're out of the body? There's none of that. So I don't think there's any science or reality to those things at all, because we've proven with those people who've done everything you imagined that they still have a huge burden. So, and I can prove that doing the IV chelation is removing the metals, because we look at the first IV and a urine afterwards to see what's coming out. Invariably, you see a lot of stuff. And then after 10 IVs, you repeat that urine, and you can see what's been depleted. You can see, oh, there's no more this or no more that. There's still some arsenic or aluminum or lead, but it's just a way to gauge that you're getting rid of it. So that's scientific, not the other things.
We got a question here. Sorry if this is a stupid question. No question's a stupid question.
There are no stupid questions.
They said, does sweating through exercise or sauna therapy help anything with metals, or
No.
just nothing comes out?
0, 0, 0. There's no evidence to it at all. And I guess you could have to find a lab to check if you're sweating like crazy to see if there's any heavy metals in the sweat, but I don't think that's ever been documented or shown. So I think people that make the saunas want you to think that the sauna will do the trick, and the people that make the foot pads and the foot baths want you to think, oh, this will do the trick. But it's all this huge leap of non-scientific faith. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to be truthful and specific.
Keeping it real.
Yeah.
Are there any studies linking air pollution or contaminated water with both heart disease and memory loss?
Absolutely. I remember looking up, this is like 2 months ago, there are countries in Europe and other parts of the world, China, that are really polluted. Airborne and airwise. And they've talked about higher risk of heart disease, lung disease, all sorts of things, cancers, because of that pollution in the air, because you're breathing it. And sooner or later that pollution comes down, hits the ground, and you're probably breathing it as well. If you're walking around on the ground or you're driving cars, and cars that have asbestos in the brake pads, all of that gets knocked around. So there's a lot of crap out there in the environment, unless the environment is really, protected. So yes, we've seen that. And you could look it up online. Airborne pollutants and heart disease. If you want to look, you can. The literature's there. I've seen it.
I got this one. Hey, Doc, we hear a lot of people talking online about, quote, detoxing after a COVID shot. Is that medically possible / necessary? I would like to bring my son in to detox on that because he got the shot and I didn't want him to.
So Peter McCullough, who's a cardiologist, extremely well known, extremely well credentialed, has been talking about this for a long time. And his evidence and proof through autopsies of people that have had plaques and myocarditis and all of this, who've passed as a result from multiple injections, talks about using combinations of nattokinase, curcumin, quercetin, a variety of things to help to decrease the potential for the negative effects from the injection. And I believe what he says. I think he's a genius doctor. He's the only one sort of standing up. And he's been interviewed. He's had Senate hearings. He's a really high-end, absolutely credentialed, believable doctor. So what we do is we incorporate those nutrients into the recommendations we make if that person has exposure. So when we do the blood test, we look at inflammatory markers for individuals who have gotten the injections. We look at the entire picture when the blood work comes back. Then we put together nutrient recommendations. We also may add those nutrients in to help to change the outcome of that exposure. And interesting, out of Australia and a few other European countries, they're saying the more injections you get, the sicker you are. And the more you end up getting that thing that you're trying to protect against. So yeah, there are a ton of studies on environmental pollutants. Airborne pollutants find particular increase the risk of heart disease, burning the lungs, triggering inflammation, oxidative stress. This is just a quick look because I just popped this into Safari, but the list goes on. U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, air pollution, cardiovascular disease, goes on and on and on and on. The only thing I don't see on my phone that I usually see on the computer is if I look this up on Google on the computer, it gives you how many thousand studies or citations show it, but just doesn't give you that number on the phone. But if you look it up online, you'll see tons.
We got someone 25 years old. He said that his Apple Watch was saying the other day that his resting heart rate at like 9 p.m. was 110, and he feels like that's a little high.
That is high.
Thoughts on that?
I'm not sure what your day is like, the stressors and things that aggravate you through the day, because those will kind of push your heart rate up. Of course, exposure to, heavy metals and things like that can do that. That can cause arrhythmias. I think if a person's not doing exercise, you can see that your heart rate would be higher because when you do exercise, daily and you're training your body every day, whether you're walking or weights or elliptical, bicycle, anything you're doing, you're training your body to dilate your blood vessels, to receive a lot of blood flow and oxygen and good delivery to all your cells. You're training your vessels to open up. Your pressure stays down to a better range. Your heart rate drops. And your body's in a much more adaptable place. So your pressure and your pulse stay in a good range as a result of training your body to do that activity. Again, I don't know what circumstance a person is in, but that's way too high. 110 is way too high. You want to be between 60 and 70 or 80. We try to get people to be in a nice tight range. One of my buddies in medical school, Fred, great guy, very funny guy, was a marathon runner, and he was skinny as a rail. And we used to tell him, Fred, you've got to eat. All the Italian guys in my medical school would try to get him over to eat, on Sundays at our mom's house, fill him up, give him pasta and all this food. He would eat the pasta, and he would eat massive volumes of food, but he never gained any weight because he was a marathon runner. So he was lean as can be, and it was Fred with a heart rate of 48. We called him Fred 48 because his heart rate was 48, which his heart was doing no work to pump the blood around.
Oh, so the guy who was just talking said he lives on Long Island and he's going to be giving you a call.
Okay, that'll be great. You got the phone number there and website. We'd love to see you. Let's also talk about my new favorite find, Moolah Farm, Moola Farm. Christina and Sal are two really super nice people that have an amazing farm project. They have big property way upstate. They have all the animals. They have all sorts of food. They have another property in Brookville, Muttontown area, where if you drive up the street that they're on their gravel road, they have a nice little shack with a freezer and refrigerator in it, with nice little things that you can buy, organic and healthy milk and yogurt and eggs and all great free range and organic stuff. And they make pies and all sorts of things, and chicken, whole chicken, chicken thighs. The list of everything here, we'll have to put up on the picture, the video one of these days. Every Sunday they're out in Huntington at one of the markets, farmers markets. Saturday they're in Garden City. One of the days they're in Long Beach, but look up moolahfarm.org, www.moolafarm.org. Look at them up on Instagram. They have great stuff. I would be willing to guarantee if you were to drink their natural raw milk, you would never go back to whatever they're serving in the supermarkets, because that has no bearing on what is naturally coming out of the animal. But a lot of great stuff. I've gone there a bunch. I've told everybody about it. Big fan of what they've done. So just healthy food, no chemicals. That's the way you got to be.
I'll be visiting them very shortly. And if you look at that website, so will you.
Yeah, I mean, you can't beat it. And you want to eat as healthy as possible. Bone broth, beef tallow, organic meatballs, all types of chicken products, ground beef, burgers, strip steak, sirloin steak, tenderloin, different pork, A2 milk, gallon of milk, half gallon of milk, ice cream, Greek yogurt, it's amazing. Honey, because they have bees there. Different types of sourdough bread, etc., pies, all sorts of really good things. So I was there the other day, filling up and buying stuff. And I was talking with Sal, and he showed me how they're making a gigantic chicken coop to have more chickens come in. And I love construction of any kind. I'm just like I don't know why.
We're Italian.
Yeah, that's actually it. That's why. Yeah, we're Italian. When I was a kid, I would always ride my bike over to where they were building a new house in the neighborhood. Love to see how they set the foundation, build things. It's just fascinating to me. I'd end up becoming friends with the guys who were building it and would watch them and sometimes help and bring them the tools and stuff, but it was always pretty cool. So they built a big chicken coop to house tons and tons of chickens, all healthy, organic. They had goats, and the goats walked over to me in the pen. I just walked over with Sal, and they're like looking at me, and they're putting their paws, their feet or hoofs up on the side of the slatted fence. I'm sitting there scratching their head, and they're looking at me like I'm, something out of their world. And, they nibble on your fingers and stuff, and they're eating all the grass. And I said, wow. He said, well, between the goats and the sheep, they eat so much grass, they have to keep moving the pen around and I said it was cut as if a landscaper cut. He says, watch. He goes, see what they do. All healthy, organic stuff. They put out straw and different things, but it's really cool. It's the kind of thing that I would like to do. I've always thought that at some point I would get some friends together and buy a big property, have a farm, have, the animals, all the vegetables, everything you could imagine, have a stream so I can go fishing in it. So that's my one-day retirement plan. So
just being able to feed some horses every morning.
Oh, yeah.
How do you have a bad day?
Exactly.
Oh, we got a question saying, have you heard that they recently made it legal for lab-grown meat in the United States?
I thought they were going back against that. I know Florida did. Italy totally banned it. So
I saw that.
And they have to give you some idea as to whether it's lab-grown or not. So I would never go for that. Go for all the natural things that for thousands of years our ancestors have used and were unbelievably healthy as a result of that. Get rid of the garbage. Get rid of the chemicals. Get rid of it. Clean up your home environment. Get rid of all the bad stuff.
Nice try, Bill Gates. Nice try. We got another one. Horses mow your lawn for you.
Absolutely. It's a good way to get your lawn cut and clean. We know well, and have some fun with the horse. My friend's got a couple of horses, and they're just beautiful creatures, you know. I drive by the horse farms all the time, and I see them. And his daughter actually was in the Hampton Classic, and she was riding. She's 6 years old, 7 years old.
Stop it.
And these horses are just, they're gorgeous. You walk over to them, you kind of like, you know, pet them and stuff. It's like, wow, what a really cool creature.
I didn't even know you could fit on a horse at 6 years old.
Apparently, there's a whole bunch of kids that do that, and they're all dressed up in their horse outfits and, you know, the jodhpurs and the entire outfit, and, you know, they do their thing. It's a lot of fun.
That's incredible.
And then there are these massive horses that the adults ride. Then at one point, apropos to tomorrow is the Oyster Fest in Oyster Bay. I remember going there a few years ago, and in a tent, it was like the largest horse in the world. Oh my God, this is some sort of carnival thing, you know, where they're making believe. There's got to be some joke inside there. You paid like $1, and I went inside. I was like, oh my God, what the heck is that? It was either a Percheron, which is a massive workhorse, or a Belgian draft horse. I'm telling you, the head was that long. I couldn't get my hands around its head, and there's no way I could get my hands around its body. It was like, I don't know, it looked like it was 10 feet long, and the back was like 6, 7 feet off the ground. It was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. And then, of course, I started looking on the internet. I'm like, largest horses in the world. I'm like, these things get really big, and these are bigger than Clydesdales. And a Clydesdale just looks like a big,
Meat, like
sort of like jacked up, semi-muscular, but slightly lean horse. These horses are jacked to the max. Gigantic shoulders, and they're 3,000, 4,000 pounds. I'm like, wow. I didn't know things like that existed. But there are pictures online of, you know, days gone by where these horses were just... I mean, I have 2 dogs. I have a hard time keeping up with feeding them.
Well, you have one dog and a horse.
Pretty much. Imagine having to feed a horse that big. How much it would have to eat, and then how much you'd have to clean up afterwards. But yeah, gigantic. I was like, that was well worth $1.
Yeah.
I would have paid $10 for that.
Do we have a pic from that? We may have to show that next week.
Yeah, we got to get a picture of a Percheron or a Belgian draft horse. So look up the largest horses in the world. You can see world's largest horse. It makes the person look like a gnat. So yeah, Percheron, Percheron, or the Belgian draft horse.
What?
They're just monster-sized
I'm looking
horses.
at a monster.
Can you pull it up or no?
It might take me a second to get it on the screen, but
It's just, I've never seen anything like big in my whole life.
this guy looks like I mean, obviously, usually a, what do you call it? A jock.
He looks like a jockey compared to the horse. Yeah,
right.
I've seen
Like
that.
this is a totally, here, I'm getting it up right now.
Yeah.
Look how small that man looks.
And he's probably a regular-sized person.
Yeah, that's not a,
But these horses are ginormous. It's not even the biggest, most muscular one that I'd seen. But yeah, these things, the draft horses will pull anything. And 2 draft horses can pull really anything. Cars, buses, trains, they're just super gigantic muscle.
someone just said, horse manure is free fertilizer.
Exactly.
It's a whole business.
Yep. Can't go wrong. Got a little farm, get the whole thing set up. We should probably pop on that great video from Janice because she has some serious brain-related issues, number one. And when we did STEM with her, she had a wonderful result. We also should put on either our interview with a gentleman from Nova Scotia, with Tom, because he had suicide headaches, and his results to this day have been spectacular. I follow him on social media, Chinwag Barbershop. And he was so bad, and he had the brain implant surgery and all these horrible things done. But his results with STEM have been spectacular. He has no issues, no pain, no memory, focus, concentration problems, back to a completely normal life. And I speak to him once a month or so. He's a big Elvis fan, so am I. So, yeah, those 2 would be really good videos to pop up so people can see about it.
I got this one, Janice, ready to go.
Very dear friends of mine were at Dr. Calapai's, and they live in Westchester. They called me from Westchester and said, hey, we're in the neighborhood and we'd love to come see you. So I made them lunch, and they told me why they were here. 2 of the 3 family members have had Dr. Calapai's stem cell treatments. And one of them is an older friend of mine, the mother of the other 2, who had been wheelchair bound the last time I saw her, and now came to my house with a walker and got around the house with a cane. And I said, you're so much better. Magic, what? What have you been doing? And she told me about the treatments that she received. Her daughter said, I encouraged her to do it, and I'm going to call for you right now and make you a consultation. And the reason for that is that about 5 years ago, I had an acute CVA, a cerebrovascular accident, a stroke. And one of the results of the stroke was that I suffer from cerebral ischemic disease, which causes me to have blackouts. And I'll just be, one of the times I had a glass of wine in my hand, which I was laughing, the last man who spoke to you had a similar experience. And I thought, am I reacting to this wine? What is happening? I just passed out cold. In about 6 months, 3 times that happened. The 3rd time, it happened 3 times in one night. By the 3rd time, my friends called the ambulance and I was taken to the hospital. And that's when they diagnosed the cerebral ischemia. And since I have had the stem cell treatment, I have not had a single blackout. And that is a magical result. When I came to the doctor, I told him that was my concern. And he infused the stem cells up with my head back into my sinuses in the hopes that if there were repairs that could be done in my brain, must have done something. One of the results that I am so enthused about is this last year has been a really downer year for the whole planet with COVID. It was particularly bad for me because I was stranded in an apartment and I could not really get any exercise. I was in Italy and they did not permit you to really leave the house except for 100 yards away from your home. And I was just so sedentary. And I have never been a sedentary person. I used to have the reputation at work of being a hummingbird on speed. And now here I was sort of locked in. I was cleaning like the white tornado, but it's not a substitute for walking and really getting around. And part of the problem was, I think, the more sedentary you are, the more you become. The less activity you get, the less you want to get or can get. So having had this year, my husband died. My husband of 50 years died last year as well. So between the depression from that and the inactivity, it was really a bad year. And that was when my friend Andrea decided, you need to get to this doctor and see if you can get any good results from his treatment. So I told him I have a whole laundry list of things that are wrong with me, but the major thing, of course, is the cerebral ischemia. One of the results of the stroke was that I was put on medication that causes my hair to fall out. And the doctor said, well, I'll change your medication if you want. We'll see if a different med will have a different result. And I said, listen, if my blood pressure is in check, I'm good. And that was fine for about 4 years. And then after the 4th year and I lost 50% of my hair, you could knit another Janice, what would fall out of my head when I took a shower. I said, oh, God, maybe I should do something about changing my medicine. By that time, she didn't want to change my medicine anymore. The physician said, you're keeping this medicine, get a wig. So when I came to Dr. Calapai, I told him about the ischemia and how I'd like to address that. And I would love if you could do something with my hair. What? I said, my hair is falling out. Well, here's the results. In the last few months, I've never had bangs in my life. But I have all the hair. He did infusions also in my scalp, and I have all kinds of new hair growth, which I am crazy about. I know I don't mind having bangs. I'm just glad to have hair back. But I think the most extraordinary results of all the things, because I don't know if it's having an impact on my brain and on my ischemia situation, except that I haven't had any blackouts. But I can tell you that I have been so frighteningly energetic that when I came back from Europe and saw my poor little house was so run down, I started to get appraisals for painting or siding or what have you, and they were so extraordinarily high, frighteningly high. $45,000? I just want a coat of paint. I don't want a new house. I just decided I could do it myself. So I got out the ladders and the scrapers and the spackle, exterior spackle, and I started to redo my house. And friends came over and said, "You have ischemia. If I see you get on a ladder, I'm going to beat you. You can't get on a ladder with that problem." And they got online, and there are different sites online, Angie's List and Home Advisor and all different places where you can get appraisals that were much, much more reasonable than the ones that I had obtained. So I did find a young man and his crew who finished the house for me. And while they were doing the house, I now started on the garden. So I replanted my whole garden, and I've just had the most extraordinarily energetic year. Last month, my older son got married on the Italian Riviera in the most stunningly beautiful little town. It's a very, very mountainous area. If it had been last year and I hadn't had a stem cell infusion, I'm thinking I probably wouldn't have managed to get on a plane. I was such a lump. And instead, I went to this little town. My younger son rented a house at the top of the mountain overlooking the bay, and I walked up to his house. And my phone app told me, the health app told me that it was 20,000 steps and 42 stories that I walked to get up to his house. And I did that every day for 3 weeks. It was just amazing how much energy has been restored to me. So I can't say enough good things and recommend to enough people, whatever their difficulty may be, it's worth looking into. Would a stem cell infusion be helpful?
Awesome. She's a lovely lady. And she's great to talk to. It's always great to see someone who's gone from such a significant decrease in function to become vibrant again. And she's vibrant. You know, there's no holding her back. We have another terrific brain-related video on a gentleman who had what they call suicide headaches, cluster headaches. It was unrelenting, and he wasn't able to function. And everything in his life, you know, had changed. He couldn't work. He couldn't do anything. And it's certainly hard on his family. But a friend of his is a gentleman who is a comedian on the Trailer Park Boys in Canada. For people who know the Trailer Park Boys, Mike, he's called Bubbles, the one with the thick, super thick glasses and the funny look on his face. I met him years ago through another friend of ours. And he had called, and I said, yeah, certainly the step would be an advantage for him, certainly. Came down to the treatment from the day that he did the treatment, and this has got to be 6 or 7 years, I think. His headaches are gone, and they started going away within that first or second, third day. And we have an interview here that we did via Zoom, I think. And he talks about how he had every drug, every procedure, drilling into your brain, putting, electrodes and things in that never worked. And he was miserable. And I still follow him on Instagram, Chinwag Barbershop. He's up in Nova Scotia, just hair cutting. And he's doing great. So his world is completely flipped back to normal with one mechanism, one type of treatment. The stem cell therapy intravenous and the nasal approach. So, okay.
And I'll just say, and the comments are saying it as well, whoever tried to get that sweetheart of a woman to pay $45,000 to paint,
oh yeah,
what a disgusting world we live in.
That's it's a bad world. I mean, I've seen that too when the hurricane occurred in 2013, and I was getting quotes on getting a generator for my house. It was way out of control. And thankfully, Petro, who is a great company that I use for the air conditioning and everything else in my house, the heat. They came in with a price that was like a third of what everybody else was talking about. They were just gouging all these other companies. So Pete just out the generator, propane generator, 1, 2, 3, all done, quick, perfect, beautiful, and I've had no problems with it. It's been amazing. It's life-saving ever since. When the hurricane occurred, was dating a girl who lived upstate in Utica, and she wanted to come down. I said, look, it's crazy. You don't come down. I mean, we're going to be out of everything. No power, nothing, So she decided to come down anyway, and I said, all right. The hurricane hit. We had no electric, no water, nothing. And I'm pacing around the driveway trying to figure out how to stay warm and how to eat. And luckily, my friend Mike brought me a little 2,000-watt generator and a bunch of gas, and we ran the generator for each of the refrigerators, kept rotating them around so the food was preserved. I used a little Weber grill to cook and to make food. It was like being on one of those Alaska TV shows. And I was cutting wood because we had a lot of trees that had fallen. And I was using a maul, a splitting axe, to cut wood. I had the landscaper cut big, massive, round sections of wood and was just cutting it up. So my girlfriend, who was thin at the time, she says, oh, I want to, chop some of the wood. I said, the axe weighs more than you do. I said, you're going to break your wrist. I'm going to have to take her to the hospital. She goes, no, I can do it. I've done this before. Of course, she grew up on a farm because her dad, the rest of dad's soul, was a very nice guy. He was a beekeeper and did all sorts of things, made honey and, big outdoor guy, big Russian outdoor guy. So she picks up the maul, crack, split. I'm like, oh my God, how is it possible she's able to do this? Long story short, we figured out how to have wood, put it in the fireplace, made food. There was no way to take a shower. All we had was this little generator. And I looked in the back room behind the kitchen, and my mom had this big Italian coffee urn that's like hundreds of cups of coffee. So I looked at that, and a light went off in my head. So I had bottles of seltzer, tonic water and seltzer, because nobody drinks tonic water and seltzer all the time. It's usually just for parties. But I had the idea to put the device in the shower on a little shelf thing in the shower, run the generator to it, put the seltzer in the device, heat it up as if it were going to be coffee, and used a little pan, a pot to take showers. So it was fine. It was great. So, a little ingenuity, a little quick thinking, but that's how we did it. Now Tom's interview and video is terrific. So that's great for those of you who'd like to see it. Want to welcome Tom to the show. How are you, buddy?
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's great to see you and talk to you again. How are you doing today?
I couldn't be any happier.
That's wonderful. So people don't understand what cluster headaches are, and certainly to the extent of what you've experienced. And in talking with other patients about different types of headaches, they range from the mild to the ultimately most severe, which is what you've experienced. So as is with all the programs that I like to do, we want to have, an educational format to show people what reality is like and what some of the people suffer with. So if you can give us the overview of what happened with your cluster headaches, how they started, and the extent and the progression of that before we met, I'd like people to understand how bad they really can be.
Well, backstory, they started July 25th, 2005. I was 33 years old, and at the time I was under an immense amount of duress. Son had been mauled by a dog. I lost a baby. My spouse was in a car accident, just some life-on-life terms. And for me, they were pretty traumatic enough that I felt that I couldn't take it anymore physically, and they came out to me in this disease of the cluster headaches. I was very fortunate to be diagnosed within a year. The average diagnosis time is approximately 4 years now. Mm-hmm. It used to be 16. So the fact that I got diagnosed pretty quickly, but the attacks, they last 30 minutes to 3 hours long each, and you can have up to 14 attacks a day. I averaged anywhere from 5 to 8. On a good day, it was 3. and each attack is 30 minutes to 3 hours long. So it can consume a large portion of your day, whether you're wide awake or you're sleeping, because it wakes you up in REM sleep.
Did they start severe? Did they start moderate and then progress? And
just started like hell out of the gate right from day one. Didn't understand what was happening to me. I thought I was having an aneurysm. Nothing made sense. I went to a dentist because the pain starts in the trigeminal nerve, which is approximately here in your gums. And so I optimally went to a dentist, and he said, "Oh, you need a root canal." So we actually did 2 root canals, then a tooth extraction. And at that point, about the year mark, where he said, "Okay, you need to see a neurologist." And that's when I got diagnosed. And you're only considered chronic once you reach 365 days, like a full year, without any remission. I never had a day off from day one. Wow. Day one, I was chronic, and that lasted for 15 years.
And medication didn't really work?
No, for me, seeing several neurologists was just a plethora of being a funnel for trying different drugs with horrific side effects, from not being able to sleep, weight gain, weight loss, impotency, just horrible side effects. It just made me sicker. And to no avail. And you're told that there's no more pharmaceuticals at that current time in your life. So the only other option is now brain surgery.
Wow. So secondary to the diagnosis and the meds not working, what were the next steps?
Well, I had to see a neurosurgeon. I had to get tested by psychiatrist. There's several steps. You just don't ultimately end up having brain surgery. You have to exhaust every pharmaceutical, every possible realm of getting any type of help, from crazy things to they just don't do brain surgery right out of the gate at first. I was the first in Ontario and the second in Canada to have deep brain stimulation, whereas they implanted a wire into my hypothalamus powered by a battery in my chest.
I think we've got a picture of some of the things that you had sent.
Yes.
Looking at some of the extent of what was done, putting screws and drilling in, and it looks horrendous.
Yeah, it wasn't a fun process at any point. I think I have a total of 30 days in the hospital with all my surgeries in total, because I almost died from one of them. I got an infection, and they had to remove everything. Almost cost me my life. So I can't begin to tell you how much I regret those surgeries.
Yeah. Frequently you hear from people in circumstances similar, like with Parkinson's, where they try the deep brain stimulation, they regret they've had that done as well. So I'm not sure what the statistics are, but from people that I've seen, and we have a lot of Parkinson's patients, obviously, 90% of them regret having the deep brain stimulation done. There's another picture of you wearing the frame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you're awake.
Scary.
You're awake, and it's hard to process having a drill going into your head awake. It's not painful. The painful part was the pacemaker, the battery in my chest. That was the painful part. But living with what happened to me has been the biggest challenge at all, because there's parts of this surgery that are irreversible and that I'm forever stuck with for life. But now I have a quality of life worth living. So they kind of supersede, the memory loss and that sort of stuff. So
when you were having all of the headaches and such, and were you able to work much, or I can't imagine what your family life and work life was like.
I lost a marriage, I lost friends, I lost a career, I lost my vanity, and eventually I lost myself. The disease robs your soul. Because being sick's a full-time job. People say, "What do you do at home all day when you're home sitting on the couch?" And I'm like, "Well, you worked 40 hours. Well, I was having 120 hours of attacks."
Yeah.
It consumes your life.
Oh, boy. So then you met up with a good buddy of mine up there in Canada, who I met through another wonderful friend, Kenny, rest his soul. And So you had the progression of all these symptoms over what period of time between when it started until we met?
Well, the attacks had started July 25th, 2005, and I mean until I went and saw you in the office.
Wow.
I had done some psilocybin to help reduce the intensity and the frequency, but they never stopped my attacks. And when I saw the next day, I've been attack free since. I sorry, you can't punch the smile off my face. I'm just so happy.
So you've known our good friend Mike for a long time.
Yeah, I've known Mike for, about a decade or a little more than that now.
And he's a sweetheart. We can talk about him. Mike is a famous guy.
Sure. Yes. Mike plays Bubbles on the Trailer Park Boys. But he's Mike to me in any facet and form. I separate friendship from fanship. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. We're great fans, but he's a really terrific person. Every time I got up to Canada to meet all of my friends up there, and he would always be around my friends who are Native American on this gigantic reservation, and just huge groups of people would go out together, and there are a lot of wonderful stories, and Mike knows every one of them that I know because we were there all the time. Our great friend used to take all of the people that worked for him and all his family and friends to Vegas for a week and take care of everybody in every way, food, hotel, airfare, etc. And Mike and I would laugh like idiots, because it was just so much fun. You felt like you were a little kid again. But whether we stayed in Canada for the time or we would travel or go to the Bahamas, Mike was always great. As soon as we saw each other, you just kind of run at each other and give such a big, robust hug. He's a terrific person.
Absolutely.
So
wonderful.
I need to call him so we can chat. I want him to see this as well. And so at that point, he mentioned that we should connect. And we did. And you had come down to the office, I guess it was about 5 or 5.5 years ago?
Yes. I think it's also important for people to understand that not only what the disease was happening to me, this wasn't an ailment of arthritis or back pain where something with therapy or pills or medication can be helped. We're talking about life-saving. When Mike reached out to me, I was at the end of my rope. I had lost hope, and I had tried everywhere. And if it wasn't for Mike and Dr. Calapai, you wouldn't be seeing me on this video right now. Without a shadow of a doubt, my wife would be a widow. And I think it's important that people need to understand that it wasn't that bad and that severe. And there are people out there that are still suffering. So I'm making this video to offer hope for people.
It's so important. And we've seen other people that have spoken to you and thankfully had another gentleman, which we're going to interview, I guess, within a couple of weeks, that had a similar terrific result. So the idea is really getting the word out about the disorder, how bad it is, and how urgently, medical professionals and administration really need to understand that this is really the only important way to be able to change the mechanism, and that quickly. So the more, and I talk about educating people all the time. You ask 100 people about cluster headache, they'll be like, oh yeah, I know it's a bad headache and it comes in clusters. They just don't understand it. So this is so important for you to be able to tell people what your experience has been.
A lot of information is misinformation. We're a rare group. There's probably been less than $25 million spent on research in the last 25 years, which is peanuts. It's nothing. We're unheard of. And we have the same disease rate, MS.
Yeah.
So this is a disease that should be funded to help people, and if it wasn't for doctors like you, there'd be a lot more suicides. I can tell you that.
Yeah. It's a scary, scary consideration, worldwide. Yeah. And again, it's hard to understand, why the traditional approach doesn't accept something that is so simple and natural and from your own body and that can create such great results for all the disorders we talk about: Parkinson's, MS, stroke, Alzheimer's, liver, kidney, heart failure, joint disorders, the list, COPD, the list goes on and on. But that's why, we put this information out there. We have great videos on the website, et cetera, including yours. And we keep putting this information out so that people can see it and understand it.
The crazy part was when I saw you, I had only had hoped for that one benefit, for that one health concern that I had. Whereas I had a plethora of, chronic migraines, tension headaches, a fourth headache from brain surgery, neuropathic pain, sciatica pain. My libido wasn't there. And all of a sudden, the next day, all of this stuff came back. I started normal life again. Now I get to be 52 years old and have normal aches and pains like a total normal 52-year-old should have. I consider it a blessing to be able to go, oh, my back hurts today,
Yeah, a transient little ache or pain that, most of us will experience. So
yeah.
as you had left the office that day, how long did it take before you started seeing some of the changes?
Oh, the very next day when I woke up the next morning, with cluster headaches and migraines and the other headaches, you never know when you were going to get one, right? So for me, it was kind of the dice. Okay, when is it going to happen? So the first thing I noticed that was instant was I had overnight 50% less sciatica pain, whereas I didn't need medications. And I remember you instructed me, don't take any inflammatories for a month. I went, great. And that way I give a clear, concise answer to my pain levels. I didn't need it. I've never needed it. So now my sciatica is 95% gone.
Wow.
So that was a progression. 3 of my headaches overnight went into remission immediately. I've never had 3 of those headaches since.
Wow.
The 4th, which was a result of one of my brain surgeries, that one went into remission at 1 year and 8 months. Okay. Why did it take months? I don't know.
Probably some wear and tear and, changes, created by the surgical procedure. So I tell people that sometimes it takes a little bit longer to grow or repair tissue, and some things can take months or longer. People can understand the visual. If you shave someone's head totally, you're not going to have a full head of hair the next day, week, or even month. So that's why it takes a little bit longer for those cells to reach a level of repair that goes beyond the level of damage that was there. So if there's a certain amount of damage, you need to start repairing that, and then you're getting back to a level that creates, normal function. So it does take a little time.
Mm-hmm. But it's amazing, though, that the mentality of how the next day I felt was different. How I just felt like I had a massive epinephrine shot, like you were just jolted with this energy of life, like I'm going to start living life today.
Yeah.
And it's like that since.
Some of that there's some scientific explanation for, because as the brain cells are damaged and they're idling and they're not really making the neurotransmitters to go out to all the neurons and all the cells to communicate and do all the great things your brain has to do for your entire body, so many different things are affected negatively. So the communication between cells is just not there, because you're not making those hormones and neurotransmitters that create that. So that's why so many different things can improve once that massive computer mechanism of your brain can start to do what it's supposed to do and get back to normal.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
And so we're about, you say, 5.5 years out.
Yes.
Wonderful.
So immediately I noticed a lot of changes in my life. My ability to, I lost well over 122 pounds.
Wow.
I'm active. I was able to go back to work. I'm actually standing in my barber shop. I get to do something that I love.
Yeah, it's a great picture, great barbershop.
Thank you. I'm very grateful to have the life that I have today. I can't thank you enough.
My pleasure. It's what I live for. It's what I'm here to do, So it's no one's more excited except maybe your wife than myself that you've gotten such a great and wonderful outcome. Your wife must be pretty thrilled.
Yes. And, people say to me all the time, like, oh, wow, you deserve this. And I'm like, no, I don't. Because I didn't get a choice to be sick. She got a choice to stay. Mm-hmm. And left, and she stood by through me from the absolute worst of it. And, so everything that good comes now in life, I believe that she deserves all of it, because when I had nothing to give as a human.
Yeah.
And now everything to give her.
Yeah, no one can understand the depth of the inability to have or to enjoy a life, that you had when this was occurring.
Yeah, it was a very, very difficult life. Leaving the house sometimes was an embarrassment. Having attacks in public, and a lot of disbelief from the general public, like, "Oh, I just get a headache and take a Tylenol and quit your whining." And
Right.
it was only when I had brain surgery that people went, "Oh, maybe it is that bad."
Yeah, maybe
and
it is. Yeah.
it took that for some people to comprehend what I was dealing with. And in no way, shape, or form, any of us are looking for pity or empathy. We just want some maybe understanding to be like, "Hey, I understand why he couldn't make it, or he canceled, or why he's not well today." That's all anybody that's sick wants, is just some compassion.
So memory, focus, concentration, mood are all back to normal?
Yeah, I feel pretty good. I'm able to run the business and keep coming back, and they're happy. I have aches and pains of a 52-year-old that's gone through 4 brain surgeries. So I do deal with things like that on a day-to-day basis, but I couldn't be any happier, man. Life is great. Life
That's
is great.
wonderful. Wonderful. So we played an intro to today's show and I did that on purpose because you and I are both gigantic Elvis fans. And
Yes, we
you've
are.
got some great pictures on your wall, and you know Elvis's hairstylist, and you met Lisa Marie at time.
Yes.
Give us a little bit of overview about some of that as to how you were able to meet with those people.
This was crazy. I actually won a contest to meet Lisa Marie, and they called me and they said, "Oh, it's on this date." And I go, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I have to check about that date." And they said, "Why?" I said, "Well, I'm having brain surgery." And they went, "Oh, okay." So I didn't think anything of it until I got down there, and somebody had actually told her that this guy from Canada was driving down with his wife to meet Lisa Marie, and he was having brain surgery for these horrible headaches. So she decided to take the time, and she spent quite a bit of time with my wife and I. So it was truly phenomenal experience. And then next thing I know, I ended up on Routers. So for me, that was a positive thing to share the disease with somebody that famous. And it gets more of the word out when, somebody of substance is able to share the story like yourself.
Sure. Pretty amazing. And you got some great pictures. I know I've seen a bunch of them on your Instagram and such. But
Yeah.
it's a great thing to share as, great friends. I have something that I wore today that I told you about the other day, and I never take this out of my safe. And Frankie here has got a big smile on his face because I let him put it on. I don't know if we can get a close-up or zoom picture of this. Oh, there we are. So this is a ring that was owned and worn by Elvis. He wore it in concerts. I have all the provenance with this. And it's a lion head. Pretty cool. It also comes with cufflinks, but I don't really want to take those out of the safe because I don't want to lose them. Funny backstory on this. Many years ago when I first got into practice, I used to go out to Las Vegas for medical conferences. It was the only place where you could have thousands of doctors come, stay in the big hotels, go to the conference, go to lectures and such, and bum around, go out to some good meals, and, for those who like to gamble, etc. And one afternoon, I was just walking down the strip, and I had nothing to do, and decided to walk around and saw this Elvis-orama museum. So I said, wow, this is great. Walked in there, saw some of his cars, some of his jewelry, his karate uniform, his soldier's outfit, a variety of things. And I thought back then, wow, how cool would that be to actually have something that he owned or wore? And of course, I was only 3 or 4 years into practice, so that wasn't going to happen. Fast forward to 2016 or so, I'm on the computer in the office looking at things and looking at Graceland, and it said email, sign up for that, so I did. Then it said sign up for the auction. I said, auction? What auction? So long story short, they sent me a big catalog that had all these things that they were selling off. And scarves, of course, jumpsuits from concerts, which back then were a fraction of what they're going for now. They're well into the millions of dollars for his concert, jumpsuit outfits and such. As I turned the pages, I got to the page and saw this ring. I just was flabbergasted because it was the exact same ring that I had seen and cufflinks in Vegas in the 90s. So I said, wow, this is fate. I have to get this. So again, another long story short, I called Graceland and said, I can't get down there for the auction. What do I do? The woman said, put a bid in, which is the most you'd like to pay for it. And if it doesn't get to that number and you're the highest internet bidder, you win. And that's what I ended up doing. So was able to get this, the cufflinks, and then 3 months later, the auction came out again. It was another. And flabbergasted again, there was his karate uniform. So his karate uniform was up on auction. I did the same thing. I bid relatively high, was able to get that as well. The only problem was when they closed the auction and they hit the gavel, they said sold to an internet bidder. They didn't say who. So for 3 days each time I was, waiting in agony to try to figure out if I had won. And fortunately I did. So I have his karate gi in a safe in the house. I'm going to put that together on a mannequin and get it all set up so I could put that in a glass case so, my friends and family could see that. But
I would love to.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'll have to show you that. But, anytime you want to come down to New York, we'd love to have you come around, both of you, and enjoy. When the weather's a little bit warmer. And it's got to be cold up there now, right?
Yeah, it is. And please come up to Halifax. It's absolutely beautiful here.
I'd love to see it.
It's breathtaking views here.
Would love to see. In the meantime, just send me some pictures so I could live vicariously. I love being out in nature. I love being in the mountains. I love being anywhere near water. It's my favorite thing.
Yes. And your dogs would love it here, too.
Oh, I'm sure they would. They're outdoor dogs. I have a big German Shepherd who's about 7.5. He's 120 pounds, and I call her my little St. Bernard. When I first got her, she was tiny, and now she's enormous. She's about 145 pounds. Delilah. And Zeus is the German, and they're just a lot of fun. They're great to play around with.
Fantastic.
Yep. Is there a way that people can go to see your Instagram or some of the things that you're doing so we can get people to learn more about what you're doing?
Actually, I used to write a blog on cluster headaches and actually my whole journey, and I showcased everything, explaining what I went through from the start right till the end of seeing you, and I kind of signed off on the blog explaining that now I'm living my best life. Sure. Good. But if anyone wants to read the journey, they can go on www.clusterheadsurvivor.blogspot.ca, and you'll find my blog. My whole journey is on there. You could check out my YouTube page, Clusterhead Survivor. I do a video, and actually the procedure that I had with you was actually filmed by my wife.
Yeah, I saw that. It looks great.
People to see, to understand what I went through, and to understand that, hey, it's very simplistic. It's not painful. It's not invasive. You're going to be on your way in and out in a day, and it's nothing. Really, it's nothing compared to brain surgery. It's a walk in the park.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All within under an hour. So wonderful to talk to you again. Thank you so much for coming on the program and telling people your history.
Thank you.
And wonderful to see you're doing so well.
Thank you.
Great, buddy. Be well, and we'll talk to you soon.
Anytime. Thank you so much again,
God bless you.
Calapai.
You too, bud.
See you.
Okay, bye-bye. Wonderful, wonderful story. And sort of living that from meeting him and on forward, for him to be doing so well is just the greatest thing that I've ever seen. And I repeatedly say that this mechanism is the greatest thing that I've seen in healthcare, greatest discovery, because it works so well for so many different mechanisms. Do we have time to take some calls?
Yeah. Always have some
Double
time
check and see if anybody would like to call and ask a question.
The lines are open.
Lines are open if you'd like to call and ask a question. 888-420-9272. 888-420-9272. Always like to have people call in and ask about some of their problems. We have one of the patients that sent me an email through the website the other day, and the website's drcalapai.com. I have pain in my knee, decreased range of motion, difficulty going up and down stairs. So this individual's in his 40s, relatively active, played a lot of sports. What I talk about with the joint is that sooner or later, that wear and tear that's been ongoing for a while may get to a point where you're just pushing past what I would call a normal boundary. And tears can occur in muscle very easily. Ligaments, tendons,
we have a call,
can occur very easily. So when we examine someone and put a little bit of pressure, range of motion, I don't want to say the word grindy, but yeah, we'll twist the knee a little bit to see of the integrity. There are different tests that we do that are orthopedic type tests, Apley and grinding tests and such. Looking for integrity of the medial collateral, lateral collateral, cruciates, pressing across the joint line to understand what's happening at the meniscus. Those are great initial tests. X-rays are not great because they're only showing you an outline of the bone and spacing, but MRI is by far the best test, and that's what we recommend to do because it shows us everything. So the slicing through the MRI gives you a perfect picture, millimeters apart throughout the entire joint. And depending upon what that shows, if it's mild, then what we typically do, a lot of, is PRP, platelet-rich plasma therapy, where we're taking your blood, spinning it, injecting it into the joint to create that stimulus to create benefit. PRP doesn't last forever, probably is there for a month or so. It's all used up. Some people might do a couple of PRP treatments to be able to gain benefit. If it's beyond the basic or mild, then we opt to do stem cell therapy, where we're using your own cells from your body, extracted, spun, and then back into your body over the course of about 45 minutes. And for those patients that you can see on the website, hips and shoulders and such, knees and ankles, you can see how well that creates repair to get your body back to normal function. So, Frankie, we've got a call.
No.
Okay, who's our first caller?
Hello?
Hello. Who am I speaking with?
Hi, is it me?
Yes.
This is Tina.
Hi, Tina. How are you?
Okay. I have a odd question, actually. I don't even know if it's answerable. It's not a pain, but it's a weird sensation almost on my left lower back side. It almost feels like a crawling feeling, and it's been happening more and more. I mean, I don't know if that's something that anyone's ever heard of. Or
Oh, left lower back?
I'm just...
In your left lower back. So there are different tissues that can create that discomfort. You obviously know that it could be from muscle spasm. Sometimes the muscles will get tight and squeeze upon the nerve root. Other people can have disc degeneration that can push up against the nerve transiently, or a full-blown disc herniation where that may press on the nerve more constantly. Arthritic change is usually found in the much older population. So there are different things that could create that discomfort. Does it become worse when you're moving or bending or, shifting position?
Well, that's what I'm trying to notice. I'm almost wondering if it's worse from not moving. Like I do a lot of sitting at work, and I think maybe, sometimes I'll get up and then I'll feel this crawling feeling. It almost feels like something's there, like you want to grab it, go, oh, there's something on my back, and take it off kind of thing. It's like I said, it's not really a pain. It's just
Do you
like
think
a
it's more
crawling,
superficial or
weird
deep?
sensation. Deep.
Did you say deep?
Yeah, yes, deep. I'm sorry.
So in order for you to feel something, your nerves have to be involved. So there's probably some component. It could be a little bit of wear and tear on the ligaments that go crosswise and move in all different planes between your sacrum, the triangular bone in the bottom of your spine, which would be this little triangular bone in here, colored orange, and the ligaments that go back and forth. Yeah, if you do, then that's probably a good part of it. Ligaments go back and forth between your ilium, the crest of the ilium, to the sacrum, so you could have wear and tear on the sacroiliac ligaments. If you do, then sometimes just using a little bit of injections in there to help to create stability and strength can make all the difference, and that could be PRP as well. So having a doctor like myself do range of motion testing, looking to see where you have pain. If you're lying on your back and we lift your leg and ask you to press down, do you have pain while you're pressing down? Do you have pain while we push your leg and your knee up and then rotate a little bit? So an exam would give us a good idea as to what's happening. And MRI would be the best test to look at the entirety of your low back, ligament, tendons, discs, all of that. So that really would cover all the bases.
Okay, great.
Already?
Thank you.
Thank you for your call.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, always give us a call. Office number is 516-794-0404. All righty.
We got another.
I have another call here. Look at that. So who do we have next?
Hi, this is Frank.
Hey, Frank, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, doctor?
Great.
What can be done for shoulder pain? It's not a tear. It's not torn, but I get like piercing pains into the joint of the shoulder.
So some people may have wear and tear on ligaments, tendons, and cartilage that's not a full-blown horrible tear where you can't move or lift your arm. You can have the ligaments between the acromion and the clavicle, the AC acromioclavicular joint, that can have a little bit of wear and tear and shearing on that. So that could give you a sharp pain. For some individuals that have, years worth of shoulder, discomfort or degeneration, there may be some arthritis or overgrowth of bone that could be pushing up against tissue. Some people have what they call a downsloping acromion, one of the bones on the top part of your shoulder. And as you raise your arm, you're pushing your ligaments and tendons into that bone. So that can become arthritic as well. Have you done massage or anything?
I've done like TENS machines. I've done those kind of things. I haven't done any like physical therapy or whatnot. My regular practitioner, has dismissed it as bursitis, but at times it gets like really piercing, like straight into the shoulder.
Yeah,
it comes and goes.
It's probably something beyond, beyond the bursitis, because bursitis would stay for a while, and that's sort of a dull ache, especially when you move. But I would definitely do the MRI, because that'll show if there's any little micro tears in any of a dozen different ligaments or tendons. Did you fall on your outstretched hand or do something that hurt your shoulder?
No, I think it's more of just repetitive motion, that's all.
Okay.
I'm 53, and I think it's more repetitive motion. Where can I, before I go for MRIs of that nature, what could I start with? For maybe the inflammation?
Well, you've done some of the basic things. Part of me wants to tell you to use a little bit of Motrin or an anti-inflammatory, go for massage, but then I'm not sure how much wear and tear you might have. And recommending physical therapy sometimes is a good option, but if it hurts while you do it and you don't feel better from that, then you really shouldn't do the physical therapy. So that's why in my mind, the first step would be to do the MRI. Then we can say, it's not bad at all, let's do this. Or if it does require something beyond physical therapy, maybe doing an injection with the platelets, PRP, or if it's really bad, which I'm not sure you're describing it to be that bad, then you could opt to do STEM. But yeah, the MRI is the first and best test because it shows you everything.
Okay. So
is there a certain range where you have difficulty moving? Like, do you have difficulty throwing a baseball or that movement?
Well, shit, I haven't done that in years, but raising above, above my head, it hurts more than other times. But there are other times when I'm just like sitting down, like not even using my shoulder joint, and it's like I get like a little bit of throbbing inside there.
Yeah, you definitely have some inflammatory changes. I would definitely do the MRI, because the difficulty raising your arm all the way up could involve both your supraspinatus or some of the other acromioclavicular ligaments as well. So you want to get the full answer. The full answer would be the MRI.
Okay.
And certainly we can set that up for you at any point, but we'd love to help you out. Thank you so much for your call.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye now. For those of you who'd like to take a look at the website, drcalapai.com. Certainly we're on 15 different platforms here now, Frank.
Roughly.
So, yeah, with Frank's great work and the progress here, we're getting out to a ton of people. And we'd love to get feedback from you. We'd like you to share this with your friends and family.
Starting tomorrow, we'll be live tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll be able to actually live stream this onto Instagram. So that'll help. Really? Help a lot of people see you. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And it's
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's just going to be much easier. People all get a
notification. It's a great deal that you know that I don't know. I have to learn from you.
Here.
Yeah. No, it's terrific. You're doing a wonderful, wonderful job. So, yeah, for those of you who'd like to call and ask you questions, you could do so. If we have another moment for a call, we can do so. People may not realize that we didn't really put information out all over the world yet about this program. I've given little handouts to patients for them to go to look at YouTube. We're putting some info on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. So we're getting there, and I thought it would take a lot longer time to be able to get to where we are. But, it's just a terrific mechanism. Frank and I getting together to put this on, it's worked so seamlessly. So now we're going to be able to put it out and get it out everywhere. Another cool thing that we've done for those people who need some visual to be able to understand something, I don't want to sit here and just try to make people imagine what things look like, I've got this iPad mini with a pen, and again at Frank's request, and we can connect and put up pictures of things. There's the Anatomical Chart Catalog, which is a very big company that makes laminated pictures of a shoulder tear or a knee tear or disorders of the heart, showing plaque in blood vessels, similar to the different props that we have here. But these become perfect pictures. We could split screen so you could see exactly what the heart disease, the hypertension effects are on the heart, what the tear in the joint looks like. On another device that we have, an app called Atlas, I'm able to put that on split screen, and we could show how any individual muscle works and moves. So it's a movement component on that app. As well, I can rotate and do a 360-degree view of any part of the body, the joints, the brain, the heart, the valves. So it gives you a beautiful picture from different angles. So it's pretty amazing how the technology has come all the way forward. And it's even more amazing that I'm able to think about putting this all together, because I haven't been technically brilliant over the course of the years, but I'm definitely getting there. I like the fact that I'm learning, everything from Frank. So every time I ask him, can we do this? Yeah. I said, wow, that's awesome. Can we do that? Yeah. It's awesome. So, yeah, we've got it all together. So I promise going forward, we'll see lots of great visuals on the program too. And every now and then I'm going to pop up pictures of my dogs so people can see the dogs.
Most importantly.
All righty. So thank you for listening. God bless you all. Be back here tomorrow live at 12:30. And we've got more interviews. We've got more topics. Tomorrow, actually, I want to do something with the iPad and with these diagrams. So we may do either knee or shoulder disorders tomorrow. But I have so many things that I've written down. Sometimes I stay awake at night in bed. I have a pad next to my bed, and I start to think of different ideas. And unfortunately, it keeps me from going to sleep right away. But I route down ideas as to what we want to talk about, look at, how we show it. So it's kind of the way my brain is wired, for whatever that's worth. But we'll show you some really cool stuff. All righty. Another great show. Once again, thank you so much. Give out props, mad props to my buddy Frank.